Headmaster Dr. McEwen, Deputy Headmaster Mr. Davies, invited guests, staff, and my fellow students. After thinking long and hard about the Year 12 theme of footprints, I realised that you simply cannot successfully move forward in life and create footsteps which you can be proud of without managing and organising where you're placing your attention and your time. In the previous summer holidays, I spent 2 months at our family farm with my papu, my grandfather Adoni, fixing fences and doing the odd job here and there. It was great quality time with my papu, who I've always looked up to as a huge inspiration in my life. Growing up in Greece during the World War II and the Civil War era, papu lost his grandfather at the age, his father at the age of 7 before becoming an orphan. At 13, he ran away from his orphanage and left Crete, the island of Crete, moving to Lesbos, an island further north. Papu ran away from the orphanage, leaving Crete and moving to Lesbos. At 17, he returned to Crete, opening up his first coffee shop, and for the next decade, he went from job to job, before, at 27, he met my lovely Ya Evgenia, and they moved to Australia for a better tomorrow. My papu's story has always inspired me. I've always thought, what an inspiring story and what an amazing man. And I've always thought about how I can use papu's story to inspire me. Is it what made papu successful? Was it his drive? Was it his determination? Was it his hard work? I've always questioned it. And I've tried to apply his best character traits to me, hoping that I can become a better person myself. But I've realised a lot of the time I could be using improving myself and my schoolwork, I'm using distracted by things that just aren't important. I'll sit down for an hour and for at least half the time I'll just be scrolling through Facebook or watching some pointless YouTube video. And when my phone is next to me, I'm constantly checking it. And I'm working in really short intervals, which ultimately decreases the overall quality of my work. Bro, I'm on stage. Dude, it's me. Dude, we'll talk about it later, right? Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. It's like when my phone is next to me, it's like running on the spot. You're doing exercise, but you aren't actually getting anywhere. I've realised that what's important isn't just working hard, it's working smart, and that's what my papu has always done so well. It's about managing your attention so that when you've set yourself a goal, you're 100% focused on achieving that goal. When we talk about technology, we tend to talk about it as this blue sky opportunity, that it could go in any direction. But I want to tell you why it's going in a very specific direction, because it's not evolving randomly. There is a hidden goal driving the direction of all the technology we make. And that goal is the race for a piece of our attention. With every minute that passes, more than 400 hours of videos are uploaded to YouTube. Every day, 2.5 quintillion bytes of data are uploaded to the internet. But with so much information available, is it too much for us to handle? And with so much information available on the internet, are we able to focus on one single thing without getting distracted? This is the idea of a sort of attention economy, because when information becomes so abundant as it is right now, our attention becomes scarce, as there's only our lives to fit it into. Our attention then becomes hyper-competitive between a handful of companies. And it's quite simple. If you aren't paying for the product, you are the product. The shows you watch on TV or listen to on the radio, the endless scrolling you do on Facebook, or the videos you watch on YouTube, all of this usage is free because you aren't the customer. The customer is the advertiser, and they pay each platform, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube, to get a piece of your attention. Services you use for free want to maximize the amount of time you're using their platforms. The more time you're watching for TV, for example, the more ads you'll see. This model has led to a heated competition for a piece of your attention. At a first glance, this system is a win-win. You, as the user, enjoy free services and content. Advertisers get to advertise their products to their desired audience. And social media platforms receive huge amounts of money from advertisers who use their services. But your attention isn't something set in concrete. It's not something that is permanent. Everyone and everything around you is trying to get a piece of that pie. Everyone's trying to assert a claim to your attention. Family, friends, work, information services, entertainment services, everything around you is competing for a piece of that valuable pie. Regardless of how disciplined you think you are at multitasking, it's almost impossible to focus on every single thing at once. Attention, therefore, is a game of focusing on everything at once. It's a sum of zero. And when one thing wins it, something else is bound to lose it. Dopamine is an organic chemical which comes from the brain and has a leading role in the motivation and encouragement of human attitudes. It's the chemical of pleasure and rewards you for beneficial actions like a nice social interaction or doing a bit of exercise or baba's souvlaki, like that succulent lamb and like those tomates from Babu's garden and you know the crispy pita bread that encompasses everything and that creamy tzatziki, you know what I mean. Anyway, social media platforms have given us an endless supply of these same social stimuli. Every notification on your phone is a desperate attempt to grab your attention. It will trigger the release of dopamine, making you feel that tiny bit better than you did before you grabbed your phone out of your pocket. Every time you pull your phone out of your pocket, it's like pulling a lever on a slot machine. You're probably hoping for a notification from a mate, a tag on a photo from a friend, or a message from that gorgeous girl you met at the Greek school the other day. But most of the time, it's nothing. And you're just pulling the lever on that slot machine for the sake of it. The average person checks their phone 150 times a day. Why do we do this? Are we making 150 conscious choices? I think no. We get drawn into these loops of anxiety, repeated cycles of uncertainty, of anticipation and feedback. And the rewards are just enough to keep us going. And once a habit is formed through repeatedly bringing your phone out, something previously prompted by an external trigger, any sort of ring or ding is no longer needed. So, have you caught yourself checking your phone when you're slightly bored? Just purely through habit? When you're on the bus to school or waiting in line somewhere? This occurrence isn't some fortunate circumstance, because with every minute that passes, programmers are working harder and harder behind platforms to maintain your attention on their programs. They're trying to draw your attention, make you interact, and do this through titles that catch your interest. They create an illusion of choice. The posts you see are carefully chosen to maximize the amount of time you're spending on their app. If the overconsumption of food and drink leads to obesity, where does the overconsumption of information lead us? There's always more things for you to do on the internet because it never stops. When your mind is bombarded with new information, the time your mind gets to understand and process that information becomes less and less. I've always held the opinion that the internet is a tool, and just like every tool, its benefits depend largely on how you use it. But this thought process, if anything, offers us a convenient sense of security. We can be considered naive if we believe we use our tools and our tools don't use us. Human history is filled with examples of tools that we created changing us and by extension our societies. Maps and clocks change the way in which we perceive time and space. We develop and create tools, and these tools develop us. So let's take a step back. The reason for my keynote address today is not to scare you away from using technology and the internet. It's one of the most important inventions of the modern era. It's completely changed the way we look at our economies, the entertainment industry, communication, work, our ways of discovering new information and education. Prior to the advent of the internet, the average person had no opportunities to express themselves to the audiences they can now, and now everyone can. Social media gives us an opportunity to meet new people. We can become more informed than ever before. We can share our moments with our lives with family members across the globe, and we can discover events which we are interested in. Hopefully with time, we can learn to adapt and manage the continual influx of information flooding our minds from across the internet. Or maybe in the future, the various social media applications will follow a more balanced approach to feeding us information. Regardless of what happens in the future, the next time you pick your phone up and open your favorite app. Take a breath and pause for a moment. Is there anything else you could be doing in that moment? Are you afraid to let your mind wander for a few moments and sit with nothing but your own thoughts? Or are you subconsciously postponing your future and your potential by fulfilling your desire for momentary pleasure? My papu, my grandfather Nico, used to say, "Εκεί που είσαι ήμουν και εδώ που είμαι θα είσαι," meaning, where you are, I was, and where I am, you will be. Time is scarce, life is short, but your attention is valuable. It's a resource and its stocks are limited. Think carefully where you prioritize and you arrange it. Thank you.